Test, test. Test.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome here to this Youth Policy Dialogue. Super excited to have you all here, both here in Brussels and, of course, for all you people watching also online. Thanks for joining this discussion, this Youth Policy Dialogue on social rights, employment, and, of course, the transition to the future of work. What is that going to look like? You've come all across Europe to discuss later the empty chair. She's going to come in a few minutes, the Executive Vice-President Roxana Mînzatu. Very excited to have you all here. My name is Dylan Ahern, and that is Jochem Jordaan. And we're from a Dutch organization called the Kiesmannen, trying to boost democratic engagement amongst young people.
That's right. And the main idea of this dialogue is to speak up, to let our voices be heard on concrete policy challenges of the European Commission. Obviously, we are, as a young generation, the driving force of Europe for the coming generations. However, we also notice there's a lot of challenges ahead of us, not just for the Commission, but also for us as a young generation, when we have it about securing quality jobs, accessing the right skills, navigating through a rapidly changing labor market, etc. So we hope that in the coming 2 hours, we can exchange ideas with the Commission and try to be as open and honest as possible with brainstorm sessions as well as open dialogue, and hopefully a lot of good things will come out of this discussion.
Yeah, and to kick off, we'll be welcomed by none other than the Director General for Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion, Mario Nava. So thanks very much also for having us. And right after your address, we'll have a quick Q&A about what the European Commission is already doing with regards to the future of work, youth employment, AI technologies that are disrupting the future of work. So feel free to ask all your questions related to the European Commission's work. That could help us later to dive into the discussion and have hopefully better concrete suggestions for the Executive Vice President. So what's going to happen? First a Q&A with Mario Nava. Thereafter we'll break up into different breakout rooms. The live stream for those watching online will be then turned off for about 30 to 40 minutes. But we really welcome and encourage you to also send in all your suggestions or your questions, because Jochem there has an iPad through Slido, and we'll try to take all your questions and suggestions in as well. So if you didn't scan the QR code at the beginning, you can find a link in the live stream description or use the hashtag Youth Policy Dialogue. With that said, I think we can start with a short introduction. Mr. Mario Nava.
Okay, good morning everybody. My
Microphone.
name is Mario Nava. I was born in Milan too high number of years ago to say, but I mean it was many years ago, more than 50. I was born in Milan, and then I studied there economics, Bocconi University. I did a PhD at the LSE, and I was completely charmed and fascinated by Europe. I mean, working for Europe was exactly what I wanted. And I did a concours. I failed the first one. That's good to know for all of you. So the first one was a general concours général, and I failed it miserably. And then there was a second one, thanks God, was specifically for nerds, for economists. And the nerds one, I passed it. So I was very happy. And I entered the commission at the lowest possible level that you could enter. And that was more than 30 years ago. This is the moment where you should say it doesn't show or something, but okay. And from then, I've done several things, always in the area of economics. We have a very beautiful saying Milanese that basically says that you should do what you are best at doing it, which doesn't mean that you are the best of the world, but certainly you are best to do what you studied for. So I was mostly in the area of economics, and since a year I am in charge of probably one of the most beautiful DG, and if you are here, I presume you share this passion for the three things: employment, social affairs, and inclusion. And my role now is to tell you a little bit about the three issues: employment, social affairs, and inclusions, give you an introduction of the Direction Générale, of the General Directorate, and prepare basically the ground for the Executive Vice President, who of course, will give you the highest policy level and political level. So what we do at the DG Employment, probably the most famous thing that we do is obviously work with member states to ensure that the labor market works. One of the biggest improvement of Europe in the last 20 years is, of course, the functioning of the labor market. If you look at the numbers of the labor market, there is no comparison with what the numbers were 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We have one of the highest employment rate ever. In Europe, we have an ambition to reach 78% on average. Several countries, Netherlands, for example, has a target which is higher, and it has even surpassed the target. So in Netherlands, 82% of the population is in active employment, part-time included, of course, which means that when you break it in category, the so-called prime age male category has an employment rate extremely high, and other categories are a little bit low. So employment rates and labor market, active labor market policy, ensuring that the market is dynamic, facilitates transition from one to the other job, and so on and on. This is, I would say, one of the main tasks of the Directorate General and what we have been doing in the last 20 years. As I said, the situation is completely different from what it was 20, 30 years ago. It's a joke. I always say, and it's not a joke, it's the truth. I mean, when I did my PhD at the LSE, one of my mentor and professor was Richard Layard, the super famous professor on labor economics. And his book that sold more than the Bible, probably, the title of his book was Unemployment. There's not a single labor economist today that would think that unemployment is the issue. They think the issue is what we discussed yesterday, labor and skill shortages and many other things. Of course, there is demography behind. Of course, there are other issues. But clearly is because we have taken heads-on a number of measures, in particular on active labor market policy. The most important measures that we took is, of course, what we discussed yesterday for the whole day, which is the upskilling and reskilling. The upskilling and reskilling, if you take it face value, is some sort of no-brainer, right? Because, I mean, it's in a world where there are incredible technological transformation, you cannot imagine that you study till 25 and then you are good for life. I mean, also because your life has become so long that the probability that you are good for life is zero. And therefore, you really need some sort of skilling and upskilling. Yesterday was very nice. Someone said, I think it was the CEO of LinkedIn, said, if you want upskilling and reskilling, you shouldn't think that it comes for free. The famous thing, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. If you want true things, you have to invest money. And that's what we have been doing. I mean, we have been investing a big amount of money. The EVP recalled it, okay, 150 billion of public money for upskilling and reskilling, and in general, let's say the general investment in skills. In particular for upskilling and reskilling, from the EU budget, we have been able to skill about 36, 37 million people. So we are talking about, true people that you can count, 37, 38 million people. And one of the things we are very proud of is that in the last few years, this has generated a sort of a traction effect on the private sector. So the private sector came up. Yesterday, you noticed that both LinkedIn and Cisco and Renault were very proud to say that they contribute to the Pact of Skills. What is the Pact of Skills? The Pact of Skills is something where the private companies active in Europe, including the non-European one, so the typical example are the Swiss companies, the private companies active in Europe, including the non-Europeans, pledge to skill a certain number of people. We started where the sum of the pledges was 2.5 million. We are now, by 2030, at 25 million. So, 25 million is a number comparable to our 36, and starts being a good number, We have an objective, the lady in pink, I'm a bit colorblind, so don't know exactly which color is that, but let's say pink. Is pink? Which color is that? Pink, perfect. Yeah. So the lady in pink is the director in charge of skills. and she has done lots of policies, but probably one most famous is the Porto target indicator for the number of people that should be skilled each year, and the target is 60%, which means that basically every 2 years you get a training. That's the crucial point. Training must be continuous. You should always have a training. You shouldn't think that you can have breaks or things like that. And if you train 60% of the people, every less than 2 years, you get a train. So that's employment. Social affairs. Social affairs, as you know, I mean, is a matters where the emotions get very high, right? Because there are people who think, well, if you do good employment policies, that's all. I mean, work first. If people work, they don't need any social thing, which is true to a point, because even if you work and you are rich, you still need an hospital, and at some point you need a pension, and you need many other things. But also, I mean, this is a little bit of a non-inclusive view. Not everybody gets a job immediately. Not everybody develops. So I think having a good social protection system as we have in Europe is great. Now, to give you a number, in Europe we are 7% of the population. We produce 7% of the world population. We produce 22% of the world GDP, and we represent 50%. Executive Vice President, come. We represent 50% of social affairs. Voila. So this is the number on social affairs, and I propose the Executive Vice President is here, so we just had a small introduction on employment and social affairs, and I'll pass the floor to you. As you like.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I was just going to give you a warm welcome also on my behalf, and thank you so much, Mario Nava, also for giving this introduction on employment and social affairs. We missed the inclusion, so maybe we just need to finish on that part, the third pillar, and thereafter I suggest we do a quick round of introductions also for yourself. The mic, please.
Very good. Okay, so social affairs, as I said, is a mixture of active policies and, let's say, less active policy. A number of areas where we work with member states. It goes from, let's say, unemployment protection to other things. One became very, very famous during the COVID, the SURE, you know, the European protection to the unemployment system of Europe. But we do also many others, many, of course, in the area of education, skills, but also basic, you know, food, for example. Recently, I visited Les Restos du Cœur in Paris. It's one of those things that really, you know, they touch your heart, because Les Restos du Cœur is in Paris, close to La Bibliothèque Nationale. To give you an idea, La Bibliothèque Nationale, you all know where it is, of course, is an area where apartments goes at 12,000 euros square meter, okay? And there you have a little place where people go there and get food for free. That's what Les Restos du Cœur is. 6 times a week. In a week, there are 21 times that you should eat. 6 a week, they get food for free. We, as European Commission, we pay about 30% of that food for free. Only the Restos du Cœur in France, and Restos du Cœur is not the only one we do. So a big number of policy actions that matter. And this is, I think, the good transition to the inclusion, of course. The inclusion, as we said yesterday, touches on many things. It's very easy to think of inclusion as lack of money, but it's not only that. I mean, the language of sign example that we gave yesterday is clearly a thing for inclusion. The good news here is that the labor market, I was saying at the beginning, we are proud of the results in the labor market, but if there is one area where, for example, we are not particularly proud, is the number of the fact that disabled people want to work more, and we could find ways to make them working more. Artificial intelligence helps a lot in that area. Digitalization helps a lot in that area, but even simply robotic. I mean, very recently, in my office came Amazon, and they explained to me that they are digitalizing or automatizing many of their processes, which means that now they can employ people who maybe are on a wheelchair because they don't need to move packages anymore. They just need to push a button, and the robot takes the package and moves it from here to there. So the three areas are very contiguous. There is always a link, no, between employment, social affairs, between social affairs and inclusion. And to conclude and give the floor to the Executive Vice President, the DG Employment is a bit more than 1,000 people that work on that. And we have 5 agencies around Europe that they do different things, all in the area of work. So we have an agency in Dublin, a Eurofund, that mostly does statistics on the labor market. We have an agency in Bilbao, which does something which is crucial, looks over safety and health at work. Safety and health at work is a huge thing, because unfortunately every day someone dies while working, which is terrible, because you work to live and not to die, and someone dies while working. And we always observe with the Executive Vice President that if this would happen, there are about 4,000 people in Europe every year who die while working. If this would happen from, let's say, a car crash or a train crash or an earthquake, it would create a huge emotion. Imagine an earthquake that kills 4,000 people would create a huge emotion, but because it happens by dripping every day in a different location in Europe, then the emotions are suffused in a way, and you don't feel them. You don't feel them anymore. So that's the second agency. Then we have an agency in Turin, which is called European Training Foundation, and the director is around here, Pilvi, and it's a visionary agency. It's something that the member states created 30 years ago. And what it does, hold you tight, it trains workers outside Europe. It's very visionary, because the idea is that the countries outside Europe sooner or later come in contact with us, because either they sell goods or they sell services, or people come here. So of course at the beginning the focus was on enlargement, but not only. It's economic relations. Argentina and Spain, obvious economic relations of a country, Argentina, that will never enter into the European Union, or other example of that type. And then we have an agency in Bratislava called ELA, European Labour Authority, which is responsible for the labor inspections on in situ. So it coordinates labor inspections of the different labor administrations. And finally, we have another agency called CEDEFOP, which is in Thessaloniki. CEDEFOP means Centre pour le Développement de la Formation Professionnelle, and is exactly like the ETF, but within Europe. So it takes care of training people within Europe. That's it. That's the panorama. These are the troops in the hands of our general. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mario Nava, again, and maybe please indeed, thanks for having us also, Executive Vice President Mînzatu.
No, I'm super happy to have you, and I would love a tour de table so that I get a bit of a sense of who you are. I would maybe present myself as well in the end, but thank you to Mario for showing the great work, the extraordinary work, intense work that is happening at European Union level. Not many people maybe understand the dimension of the social policies, the teams that are involved, the way in which European Union is working. So absolutely great presentation. Thank you. So if you want to say hello, I would appreciate that.
Let's just do a quick round of introductions. Your name, where you're from, and maybe your dream job as a child. What did you want to become? Do you want to start?
And make sure you grab the microphone, and then you can pass it along.
And keep it close to your chin.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this day, for organization, this event. My name is Razia. I do my master's in Italy in management, and I work remotely in marketing area. So.
And your dream job as a child, what was it?
Dream job, remotely as a child.
It's difficult because you're the first one of the group, so you had too little time to think about it.
No pressure.
Maybe work everywhere. Yeah.
Work everywhere.
Yeah. Travel and work. It was one of the dreams.
Thank you.
Thank you, Asia.
So my name is Cremena. Hello to everybody. I'm 23 years old, coming from Bulgaria. I am studying right now in my master's degree of organizational psychology. So probably I will be working in human resources soon. But my dream job when I was a kid was being a vet. So doctor for animals, so yeah.
Wow.
Hi everyone, thank you for this opportunity. I'm Varia Stolikidou from Greece. I'm currently studying fine arts in new media art in Thessaloniki and on a bachelor's degree. And my dream job was always to be an artist.
Hello everyone, thank you for this opportunity as well. So my name is Vanessa, I'm from Spain, and I studied a bachelor degree in labor relations and human resources. And my dream job was being a teacher, but now I changed totally. So.
Hi, everyone. My name is Paul. I come from Barcelona, Catalonia. I have a background in international relations, and I come also from the YEP team, from the Young Elected Politicians. And I think that my dream job when I was a kid, I had a debate between two, astronaut or airline pilot, so it was always high up in the sky.
Hello everyone, my name is Georgi Chachkiani. I'm coming from Tbilisi, Georgia. I'm the director of the International Institute for Strategic Research. So this is the organization that we work on capacity building programs, training courses, also some of the online learning activities. And my dream job was to be a writer because I really like to write, and also I wanted to make people to see better version of world through this literature.
Hello from my side as well. Thanks for having us here. So I'm Diana. I'm originally from Greece, but I live in Munich in Germany. My background is in robotics engineering, so I'm working on the field of medical robotics. But I'm also finishing my PhD on gender biases in AI, which resonates me a lot. So when I was young, I dreamed to be a doctor. Maybe that's why I'm doing medical robotics at the end, because I can't stand blood, but I can make the robot that works on that. So yeah.
Hello everyone, I already introduced myself to the rest of the group. My name is Jochem from Amsterdam, and my dream was to become a mayor when I was young, because I thought I would be able to drink coffee with all the citizens all day. That's what I thought back then. In the meantime, I would also like to mention a couple of people who are watching online and tuned in. What was your dream job? Some people mentioned archaeologist, pilot, doctor, but also a volcano explorer. So thank you for the online participants. Please continue to join this conversation, and I will hand it over to you.
Hello, my name is Miruna. I come from Romania. Now I'm a legal advisor working on a co-funded European project for migrant integration in Romania. And when I was a child, I wanted to become a lawyer.
Hello, everybody. My name is Florian. I'm from Vienna. I'm a local councillor in one of the Viennese districts. I have a background in law, and I'm also part of the Young Elected Politicians program of the Committee of the Regions. And as a child, I always wanted to become a professional tennis player, but right now it's just a hobby.
I would say my dream job was since I was a kid. So I just don't want to disappoint you, because you've mentioned pretty sophisticated jobs. But I wanted to be a salesperson, but not the salesperson that goes from house to house, but the cashier person. Do not ask me. I thought that the interaction in a store with the people selling them stuff. Of course, I come from communist Romania. My childhood was before the communist regime fell. We had a lot of shortages. And so I guess it was something about having the bounty, the plentifulness of a store. But I can imagine the happiness of the dream. I really can see it. I saw myself as perfectly happy just selling people stuff and having things to sell. So I have no salesman abilities, but yeah. Mario, what was your dream job?
My dream job, I was coming from Catholic Italy, and I went to a nun school. So I wanted to be the Pope first, and then
it's almost possible. I heard.
It's apparently, and then when I understood what I had to give up, I changed rapidly, and I wanted to become a footballer like him, and which I did, but as a hobby, not as a job.
Hi everyone. First of all, thank you for having us. My name is Maxime. I'm 29 years old and I'm from the Netherlands. And I'm a local politician in Amsterdam East. And like Florian, I'm part of the Young Elected Politicians program from the Committee of the Regions. And I have a background in cultural anthropology, and right now I work in immigration. But when I was younger, my dream job was also to be an airline pilot. I think you said it as well. Yeah, I also wanted to be high in the sky, so yeah.
My name is Dylan Ahern. I'm one of the moderators together with Jochem, and I have a background in political science. but I used to also want to become an astronaut, but then I figured out I'm terrible at math and physics, so that was scraped off the charts. And from the Netherlands, I'll pass it on to you. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, I am Elias. I'm coming from Greece, but I live in Estonia. I work with non-formal education, and I'm also an entrepreneur. I do different things. And I wanted to become a painter when I was young, like an artist kind of painter, but this has nothing to do with what I do now.
Hello, I'm Beatriz, I'm Portuguese, and I study psychology and I currently work in human resources. Before I found out about psychology, I wanted to become a teacher.
Hello, my name is Renata, I'm from Poland, and with a background in sustainability and circular economy. Currently I work in an NGO with the youth, with young people. And when I was young myself, younger than now, I hoped to be a hairdresser one day, and by my hair now you can tell I'm not, but who knows?
Hello everyone, thank you for having us here. My name is Gencay, I'm coming from Turkey, 25 years old. I just finished my volunteering period within the scope of European Solidarity Corps in Czech Republic. I studied English language and literature. Now I'm a form teacher in my hometown. I always wanted to be a footballer as well.
So, hello, pleasure to be here. I'm Jan, I'm from Czech Republic, and I'm currently doing my master's in Czech contemporary history. And when I was young, I watched a lot of sports, so I wanted to be sport commentator, but now I'm doing something completely different in different field.
Hello, I'm Pedro. I come from Portugal. I'm 23 years old. I want to become a lawyer. I'm an undergraduate student in law, but when I was a child, I wanted to become one of the three things, or either a footballer, either an airline pilot, or a politician. I've always liked to be a politician, and that's it.
And I think you can still become a politician.
Who knows? Who knows?
And there's a few politicians in the room, young politicians. So I think there's a great diversity of young people. And as goes with dream jobs, many of them do not become reality. But I think it does give a great beginning onto talking about what is a good quality job, right? What should a good quality job look like? What does it constitute? And maybe coming back to our childhood dreams, what is that dream job that maybe the European Commission can also help support in the future? Given the fact that it's being indeed, as you say, incredibly attested by all these future developments that we are already currently experiencing. So we'd like to kick off with maybe a question also to you, Ms. Mînzatu, in what is a good quality job for the European Commission?
To be honest, we will design an answer together with the social partners, with the trade unions, with the companies, the employers. But of course, we can intuitively think about some elements. And it's not that the Commission has an official position on this, but I would tell you that it's common sense, I think. The first thing I think that's important is how much we can match the skills that we have. And of course, I think maybe the passion that we have with the job description, with the requirements of the job. So this matching is absolutely, I think, essential. We cannot regulate it. Obviously, this is nothing that you can put in legislation, but we do work, and we will work further on tools and platforms that make sure that people with the right skills get to work in the companies that are looking for those skills. Many companies, small companies mostly, more than corporate companies, say that they do not find the talent, the specialists, the workers, the brain that they need. And when they find some persons, they do not have exactly the skills that are required. Some train them on the job, some obviously cannot be trained on the job. Some skills can be developed by working or by having, investment in your education. Some need more basic foundations. And we were mentioning here a number of aspirational jobs. To be an astronaut, to be an airplane pilot. These are STEM jobs, as we would call them. No, it would require a quite strong foundation on maths, on science, and a quite strong educational, let's say, avenue towards that job. To be a pope, or to be a politician, or to be, it's obviously something that is more of a social role than to be an artist. It's not a job, it's obviously something that can generate an income, but for sure, it is much more related to your innate abilities and how hard you work to put them into practice. But yes, a quality job, I think, is first about the matching between the skills and the requirements of the job. Further on, we discussed a number of dimensions. How safe, how healthy is your work environment? And Mario mentioned it, and maybe in Europe, because we have high standards compared to other places in the world, we do not see it as much. That we, through legislation a lot, and here I think legislation and rules enforced are absolutely key, we do create more and more, let's say, safer environments. There are places in this world where it's really working kills you or makes you sick, and people are exploited, and young people and women, and so absolutely true. But a healthy, I don't know how much we are in Europe. Do we really think that when we define a quality job, we need to be safe and healthy? We think it's like automatic. We think, but of course it will be safe. But it's not the case everywhere in this world. And Europe, I think, needs to lead by example. And you as future or leaders in your young generation need to think about that. So it's key. Of course, how much you earn, absolutely key. I think anyone, if you go in the streets and in any part of Europe, of the world, you ask them, what is your dream job? For sure, in their mind, the first response will be a good salary, good income. Absolutely true. Recent studies, however, show for your generation, mine as well, I'm 45, but even show that it's the amount of money, it's that you are paid fairly and appropriately according to the effort and according to your expertise, but it's also work-life balance. Might be a post-pandemic element, might not be an element that was so important for our grandparents, for our parents, but now it is. Many people treasure the work-life balance more than the salary. And I give you an example. We are now looking at potential legislation on people that work online in telework and on the right to disconnect. Coming from Romania, again, that is an Eastern country where we have a lot to catch up in terms of understanding this work-life balance concept. It's all about you're happy if you have a job and you work a lot to prove yourself and you give extra time voluntarily. It wasn't easy for me at the beginning to connect with the topic as much as I would connect with other topics. But work-life balance when you're working online is, how is a quality job when you are always connected, always on the computer, always seeing your tasks? Maybe sometimes you do it voluntarily, other times you are a bit pressured by. So this is an important question. What else in quality jobs? I think two more elements I would mention, much more would be, and I would want to hear from you as well. One is, maybe in big companies and in some industries, it's important that the voices of the workers are heard, that there's dialogue between the workers and those that own the company. You look now at what is happening in the car industry, in the automotive industry, which is the jewel of European economy. It has always been an industry where we led globally. And now, with all the transformations towards green vehicles, towards, in the future, driverless cars, toward looking at the way that our competitors have positioned themselves, we struggle with the automotive industry. And we need to think about what happens in this industry with workers, with jobs. These are good jobs. These are quality jobs, usually jobs that have people who have been trained, who know procedures, who have good health and safety. And still, we are at the risk of losing jobs like these. In these jobs, an important element is the social dialogue. I don't know how much you reflect upon that. The dialogue between the trade unions and the employers. It is very important to keep the balance, to adapt, to know what's coming in in your factory, to be able to prepare, to take some classes, to train, to retrain, to get a different job, but stay in the company or stay in the industry, because you already have such expertise, such talent. You can be of value, but maybe you need some additional, investment. But you need to know. And how do you know? By yourself, each worker, each engineer cannot find out. But if you have clear social dialogue between the representatives of your workers, let's say, organization and the employers, it's much, much easier. And the last element I would mention is an element that we are looking at, and there I would very much want to hear from you. What will it mean, a quality job, in a world where each worker and each professional will be assisted by AI? Things are changing. Many companies use AI, but it's not about using AI for products and services, for delivering. It's about the AI and the algorithm that is involved in managing people, managing teams, assessing their performances, monitoring them, recruiting them, firing them, promoting them, allocating their tasks. We don't have an answer. What does it mean to have a quality job in a world where AI will work hand in hand, or will be part of the daily routine of a professional? And it's the world, it's your world, more than it's ours and your children's world. And absolutely that I think this is a topic where your ideas are more than welcome. We are starting work on a quality jobs roadmap. It has to be future-oriented. It cannot only reflect what we understand as quality job today. We need to think for the next decade and for the next decades. And it's very disruptive what we see with AI in the world of work. And I don't know if you reflected upon that, but I would invite you today to share some of your ideas and to think about it as you leave the premises, and to continue to look into this, because it's your world, it's your jobs more than ours, and it's the next generations, and you're, I think, the best equipped to think of that, because there's huge potential in AI. It's like, I was telling, I had a meeting today with a minister, and he told me, you're not going to regulate to stop the use of AI because we need it. We need to be productive and competitive. Europe needs it. I said, of course. First of all, let me share my thoughts on that. I think AI is like an environment element. It's like rain, it's like wind. You cannot stop rain, you cannot stop wind. You can design a good umbrella or a good, shield from wind, but that's it. So yeah,
right.
That's my reflection on quality jobs.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and kicking off this discussion. I think what I'm very curious about is also to look around in the group and see what factors are for you personally very essential in what makes a good quality job, and also perhaps if people are able to comment on what you mentioned on also thinking about you in the future dealing with AI. Is there anyone who would like to give a first comment or first thought on what factor for you personally is crucial in a quality job? Yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I was thinking, for me personally, if I think about a quality job for me, it means also that it aligns with my personal values and that you feel like you can contribute something to your society. So for me, before I had this job, I worked in a commercial company, and I noticed that for me, it didn't always align with my values. And then I thought I can use my skills better in a way that feel like are more productive for society. So for me personally, that's one thing that is important in looking for a job. And in terms of AI, I sometimes feel like people are a bit too hesitant to embrace AI, because I think, like you said, it's like the weather. It's there anyway. We need to work with it. And I think, of course, first we need good regulations. But I think it can also help in taking away the more tedious, repetitive tasks that are kind of boring, especially, for example, for office workers, so that you have more time to spend on the more exciting and interesting parts of your job. So I think there's a big potential there as well.
Maybe let's get in a few other comments, and then we can comment directly. Yeah.
If you can, maybe it's too much, sorry to ask. Would you regulate, or would you just put some recommendations, some guidance? Softer or harder intervention from the European Commission in what AI in the world of work would mean? How you would see it?
Let's start with a raise of hands so we can see everyone. Who says who says strong regulations? Hands up. And who says a few guiding points, recommendations is also enough?
It's different. No, of course, education is, I don't ask you, we do education. This is not a question, we need to educate. The idea is whether you would think that the European Commission and the authorities should put rules in place through legislation to say how you make sure or how you organize AI in leading people in the world of work, or no, you just recommend. You say you can do things like that or like that. It's a recommendation, a guidance, you use it or not.
Is there anyone who would like to comment on that? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I believe that on the AI side of issues or problems that may arise or that are now present, I do believe that regulations strictly in the work, in labor conditions, I think shouldn't be so strict as to more general AI guides and rules on data, for example, or on data collection from users and from and training them. I do believe that, as she said, it could be a great help for workers doing repetitive work or doing some tedious work, like going through a 100-page document that AI can do that now in seconds. But I do believe that regulations should exist maybe in the labor market, but also in the higher European level of data collection and of data retrieval that really could have their more impact than on knowing how to regulate in the job market, because at least my opinion is that we still don't know what will happen next week on the AI discoveries and new advances. So trying to regulate so much on this balance between the worker and the robot, it can really be a struggle. And we all know that political tempos are like quite long. And so when we are done with some regulation, it could be a few years old already. So I do believe that higher or like big picture regulations could be more useful than these more focused ones.
I see another raise of hands over there, and then I will get to you. Yeah.
Like, when I think about AI and how we use it, I don't think particularly like...
Please use your microphone.
Sorry. When I think about AI and how we use it, I don't think actually how to, like, it's so abstract for me. It's like the space that is like unfilled about anything. We just fill the space. And for me, it's not about the regulated, like the jobs and the social rights, but the regulated itself, that we know where it come from, what's new in the AI, and which company, how each company approached the AI. And then when we know that, we can build on that, how to use it and how it works on the work and on the labor market. So.
Are there some people worried about AI developments, having racial biases, or I'm looking at a PhD student on AI?
Yeah, so first let's start with something in terms of education. We speak on how to use it, so the digital literacy, but we never speak about the information literacy, how to assess the information we receive from these tools. So in the previous year, we had the issue that we had the spread of so many fake news, for example, and you see the answer from the people, but I found it on the internet, it should be true. We somehow come over this, but now we have the answer, but AI told me, but AI gave me this response, it should be true. So in the past, we already saw that women had less chances to be suggested from AI tools in order to be hired from a job. We had also issues where Black women face racism in terms of classification because of their color and gender. And now even with ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, there are so many biases. For example, try to ask them to generate an image of an engineer. You will most probably get a male engineer. And for me, it's important to raise this and speak a lot more about this information literacy. People need to understand we cannot normalize, we cannot accept that because it's AI generated, it should be true. And I think this is the biggest challenge that all of us will face, because according to McKinsey, by 2050, like 70% of our jobs will be supported or replaced by AI. So if we don't need what to do with these AI results, this is the issue. We can regulate as much as possible. But still, if the people believe that what they read is true, then we have the issue. It's still there.
So focus on the education and the information process.
But not on how to, but more what can I do with what I get, like this critical thinking. I believe it will be the most important skill for tomorrow.
The basic, the critical thinking. Any additions next to you, Gyuri?
I would simply add that when we are speaking about the AI and the regulation, I would say it depends on the areas that we need to strongly regulate with regards to the employment relations. Because if we are speaking about this AI as a performance review or an assessment within these employment issues, then there is a high risk of the biased decisions. And maybe some of the decisions that will be made by the artificial intelligence that can directly influence all the workers, it could be biased. So I think we need some of the strong regulation in this regard. But another option is using AI, for instance, as one of the key areas of quality jobs for me is learning and development. Because even if we have a fair wage or something like that, if workers don't see that in this particular role they can learn something and they can develop themselves, then they might not be so much satisfied with their jobs. So AI can be a huge turning point using as a leverage in this regard, because now if we had some of the learning instructions or instructional designers, now AI can generate this content. Also, they can make their own videos with simply AI, and they can assess the knowledge in this regard. And it is not really much decision making on the person or something like that. So I think in this regard, AI can be a really great benefit. And regulation in this area might not be so much stronger, so it depends.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Last comment, yeah.
I would like to make a complementary intervention from my last colleagues, but just to give a different input. When we're talking about AI, we're talking about something that it's not like any other invention in mankind. It's not like the radio, it's not like the newspapers. We're talking about something that has an ethical problem regarding to it. We're talking about something that can literally replace tasks that until now had only been able to be produced by humans. And I think this is a big factor of instability, of uncertainty, especially the evolution. And I believe in deregulation for a couple of reasons. The first of all, because of the ethical part, in order to give some control to what can we do with the AI, for the reasons my last colleagues have spoken. But also because a lot of people that have studied some areas, and I can speak for my own, I can't speak for my colleagues, but in my experience, I study law. Law is facing a huge transformation with AI. A lot of students and a lot of professionals made their expectations based on a set of skills that only they can produce and offer to companies and offer to society. And now we see that AI is replacing it. Now, of course, we can't fight this. This is out of our control. But I think we need to invest in education, start to make AI usage of AI as a part of a tool, and this needs to be in training within the companies, in the education between the companies, because I think there are a lot of people who will feel their expectations will be challenged. And as a political union, we all need to also safeguard some stability. Otherwise, the way things are evolving, they are really challenging. And this is my concern as well.
Okay, a lot of input.
A lot of input, and so there's many different ideas, mostly jumping into the AI, of course, right away. I heard critical thinking, learning and development, education, but there's some sort of consensus that some form of regulation is important. Europeans like regulating as opposed to the Americans. I'm just going to challenge you a little bit here, because there's also lots of news from famous Mario Draghi, of course, about competitiveness for Europe, saying that Europe lags behind also in terms of technological advancements, AI, and that we're sometimes too busy with regulating.
No,
what is your take on this?
My take is that we should not mistake one thing for another. So absolutely AI as a factor for productivity, to use it in, again, delivering better our services, in designing and better selling our products. That is not something that should be, you know, in any way hampered or stopped or delayed. And it is not possible to do it. We do have the AI Act, which does, so there is an act at EU level which talks about the trustworthiness of the AI, the sources, but that is all. My question was, and I think we need to reflect on that, Americans, Europeans, Chinese, all of us, on the transformation, and I think the colleague there best showed it, on the transformation, the disruptive character. AI is not like any other technological tool. We need to think about the human-centric approach. We need to think of the fact that there are companies and organizations where the algorithm or a certain tool is actually, as I've mentioned, recruiting and managing teams. And what does this mean for the quality of the job of the human? This is the question. It is not about using AI as a tool. It is about the human-centric approach, and it is about the biases that might appear, and they do appear. It's about having, okay, we use ChatGPT. I'm going a bit in brackets now, but different learning models. What are the sources? What kind of information? How can we make sure that they are not biased? You know, and then see, because if in the physical world we have, let's say, the right to find out why our team leader took a decision, we have the trade unions, we can ask how they did decide this or that, our recruitment process, our assessment, everything is absolutely clear to access because it's human to human. When you talk about AI, things are much faster, things are absolutely automatic, they are efficient, but we need to think of the impact it has on the human, let's say, centricity in the labor relations. So that is the question. I totally agree, everyone agrees with Mario Draghi that Europe needs to be much more agile in terms of using new technologies and deploying new technology. And that means a lot of things that we need to simplify. And we are starting to simplify, and I support that. But beyond that, Europe is, people say, the best place in the world where you live, work-life balance, good working conditions, compared to other places. How is that happening? It happened because we had some rules in place and they were enforced. People say that we are living too well in some ways. They say you are too protected, too cocooned. You know, what is this lifestyle in Europe? It's too social. I don't know. I ask you. You talked about values-based alignment, which obviously EU can never regulate, or it's absolutely a personal option, but it's the values-based approach. You talked about a job where you feel that you are developing, that you are training and you are developing new skills as you work. These are elements that are very specific to our European social model, where we put a lot of focus on the person, on the people, on the worker, on the professional. This is why Europe is what it is. We need to be more competitive. We do. Should it be at the expense of the well-being of people? I think not. Is it easy to think of how you can maintain, empower, and maintain a certain level of protection for the social rights of the workers in a world where AI would be much more present? It's not easy. It's a complicated question. But think about it like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm really excited, actually, that so many different views have already been shared. I believe it's time to take it a step further, because what we would like to do is get into breakout rooms and actually discuss this in two different groups, and then later on come back here and further follow up on the questions. Is there anything special I should mention? What I forgot?
We're going to divide you in two groups. So one is going to discuss skills and the linkages between skills, education, and the workforce. That's going to be here with Jochem. And then the second group, it's going to be standing group, is going to be there talking about the impact of new technologies on AI on work. How can we design a human-centric AI for the future? That's going to be there. If you have time, maybe both of you, you can walk around, advise us, listen in, jump in. Please feel free to do so. And you'll be designing or you'll be dedicating one rapporteur at the beginning, who will at the end present some of your best ideas back to the Commission.
Could I ask or suggest or ask
Yes,
something?
please.
I don't know. In your debates, if you can think of what the European Union should or could do. I'm sure that most of you are aware of what the EU, the Commission is, what we can do. Some things the governments do, others we can. But have this reflection. What would we expect to be done at European level? What is the EU added value? For us, it would be super useful. Any other proposals are absolutely welcome. But also, if you think with the European umbrella, it would help us, I think, a lot, if possible, of course.
We're going to make sure we're going to do exactly that. For the people watching online, we really encourage you to also join in the discussion by using the Slido app. Again, hashtag Youth Policy Dialogue if you're not in there. Come up with your suggestions, ideas for the same questions you'll be seeing on Slido. We'll be turning the live stream off for the next 30 to 40 minutes, but thereafter we'll turn it back on again. So join us then and see you back in half an hour to 40 minutes.
All right, then about the division of the group. Welcome back, everyone, after this half an hour of intense brainstorming and discussions. Our group had a lot of ideas, and actually with your group, Dylan, I also noticed there's a lot on paper. So perhaps, if you allow us, I think it would be good now to go to the first group and have you explain a little bit to the commissioner on how did the discussion take place, and what did you come up with? And maybe you can turn it.
I'll be your assistant.
Yeah, maybe. Oh.
And so our group was on identifying the key gaps in current education and to propose specific additions to enhance job readiness. So please.
Yes, so it's been a really vivid but also fruitful, hopefully, discussion. So the question that we focused on first was does the current education system prepare us for the labor market? And we think both yes and no. So the things we would like to improve is the practical part integrated into the theory. So now we learn a lot of facts, a lot of things on different subjects. However, there is no practice. So after we finish school, we get out to the world and then we think, I don't know how to do things. So we would like to integrate the practical part into our education system. So then when we leave the school, when we leave the university, we already have skills, enough skills to take on our first job. Then the career consultations, accessible for everyone. We think like every school should give us the chance to consult our future plans or dreams with someone who's more experienced, who can give us some guidance, some advice, how to do things, how to navigate through what we want to do and what's actually needed on the market. And then updating the education system a bit, including the AI in the curriculum, but not only the AI. So the key gaps that we identified in the current education would be filled with the following options. So the AI education, that's maybe stepping a bit into the other group, but we thought that it should be both for the students and the parents and teachers. So not only we at school should learn the AI, but also our parents, also people who are teaching us, our professors. And the things we should learn about it is how to use it and how not to use it. Because there are lots of bad ways to use the internet, the AI, and we would like to know how not to do it, how not to go, how to diverse what's real and what's the fake news, what's wrong, and what can be hurtful to someone. And then we believe that such trainings should be funded by the EU. So we talked about some schools in the rural areas, in the villages, that are not funded enough to even have the computers. So we cannot talk about the education on the AI if we don't have access to the basics. So maybe a bit help
Just
from
to
the
intervene,
EU.
if you could keep it rather short so we can have a discussion also.
There we
with
go.
it.
And that should be constantly updated. So that's what we believe as it's changing. Then we thought of the social skills and the soft skills education from the very early age, even talking about kindergarten, and maybe as a new school subject, as we believe the soft skills are really essential and we don't really get them from school. So we connected this part with integrating the informal and non-formal education with the formal education that we already get. Now we get the Erasmus Plus programs, for example, but they are still only for people who know about them. How about integrating them into the schooling system so everyone has access to them? And then we thought also of the European level accreditation for volunteering, for internships. We go volunteering to one country, but then we should get credit for working in all the other countries in such field as we already got the experience. Then lowering the minimum age on the local level of volunteering programs, for example, to get children and young teenagers involved also in their local community volunteering. And also the training for parents, how to support their children in both education, but also social development, and how to, for the parents to be more aware on the digitalization and also the danger in the digitalization, as I believe most of our parents don't know how to write a text message, and it's a big struggle. That's my mom. And the last part is promote the vocational training in schools. As I believe now, we mostly go for the A-levels, for the high school, for the college, but the vocational schools are mostly forgotten. And in many cultures, many countries, it's believed it's only for the less successful students to go for the vocation school, but it's actually not like that at all. And everyone should get this choice without feeling judged that maybe they want to get a profession and they want to leave school already having a job in their pocket. That would be it from our group, unless anyone wants to add something. Thank
Very
you.
much. Maybe just a really short round from the other group, maybe any questions for clarification, and then also maybe a short reaction from the...
One over there.
Yes?
Do you have a mic in front of you? Yeah.
I just want to say that I really agree with it. There are no quality jobs without a quality education. I do think that we need to preserve the theoretical part of school. We, of course, need to learn math, biology, history. These are things that cannot be disregarded just because we need to prepare ourselves for the job market. But I think we should invest in extracurricular programs that essentially prepare us for the future with a skill that is characteristic of the human species, which is adaptability and resilience. Mm-hmm. And so I think we should have emotional intelligence programs. We should have I think we should have something that should precede the teaching of any imposed science, which is cultivating a knowledge for passion. Mm-hmm. So we have students in school that deal with math, and just because they don't have, a very passionate teacher, they don't really like math, and this is really problematic. Mm. And so, yeah, I think we should invest, and we should make it. We should use the laws and the EU policies to foster these things that exist in countries like the UK. I know they have emotional intelligence, but for instance, in Portugal, we don't have anything like that.
Emotional intelligence is an addition to the soft skill development.
Yeah, I'm wondering perhaps one addition from the group.
I just wanted to speak more about these passionate teachers that you said about, and I've seen some sort of in my country there was a shortage of teachers, so they increased salaries, and somehow the criteria dropped, and everybody started applying in university to be a teacher. And I think there should be some kind of strict requirements for emotional intelligence and so on to be a teacher. And it's not only about getting a degree for 3-4 years, but it's also being able to teach. And it's even if there is a shortage, we shouldn't lower the criteria. The criteria should be very high because education is very important. And this should be somehow
a bit abrupt, but why, though some of you said that you wanted to be a teacher, why didn't you choose this career in the end? 2 of you, I think, or 3. Then we are talking about vet and the fact that, yes, it's a good profession. How many of you, myself included, thought about going in a vocational and educational school? Did you think about it? Did you a bit tested the waters? I didn't. I did political science in the end, so I'm included in I don't judge or... So it's very complicated to... So what I mean is we need to operate with realities. On maths, indeed. We have, clearly in the Union of Skills, we stated for the past 10 to 15 years, absolutely worrisome trends. So the number of teenagers that do not have basic minimum math abilities is increasing. So it's 33% from the 15-year-olds. Because, of course, and then we go below, math teachers, how motivated they are, how engaged they are, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. It is complicated to ignore, or at least we need to be very realistic in terms of what do we need to do to cover these gaps. Mm-hmm. Salaries are an important part of the element, and that you can do to fill in the gaps. The motivation, the emotional part is much more difficult because it is also a generational aspect. Mm-hmm. The prestige of some professions, engineering, or the difficulty to become an engineer, to become and remain a teacher, it's just not the same. It doesn't mean for you and my generation the same things that it meant for my parents, for our grandparents. It's a bit of a generational issue. So we need to also take into consideration these elements. If there is a lack of attractiveness and a lack of motivation towards some careers, why is it so? Can we do something to improve the attractiveness, the working conditions in those careers? There are many countries that are confronted with teacher shortages. In some cases, because the teachers are getting older and, of course, retiring. In others, it's low salaries, but I totally agree that maybe it's not just the salary, but they go inside, they become a teacher, they drop because it's very stressful to be in the classroom. They complain a lot about the behavior of the children, about the attitude of the parents, about the respect they receive, or about, well, many other things. No job is easy. But these are realities, and we really need to take them into consideration. And maybe we do another dialogue on the teachers and trainers agenda. So next year we will prepare, following the Union of Skills, a tool that is deserved, and it's going to be the most difficult, how we are going to improve working conditions and the attractiveness of the teacher career. We cannot do anything in terms of becoming more competitive if we are not improving the teacher career. So, but the reality is described by these elements, that it is not attractive, that it is stressful, that the whole ecosystem around the teaching career has changed in the generations. And we need to think of many ways to, and some cannot be put into legislation. You know, you cannot do that easily. I just wanted to mention, though, that in the Union of Skills, we define the basic skills set a bit differently. Vanessa is here, so we don't have just math, reading, science, and we have digital literacy. We also added citizenship, which includes a lot of the elements you've mentioned. It's a skill that will need to be implemented in classrooms as wished, as desired, but it's about media literacy, about disinformation, about values, about the soft skills that we need to be able to find and assess in a person and to equip that person with this skill. So we did come with this proposal in the Union of Skills. We hope the member states and all the stakeholders will take up on it. Please remember it. So from now on, it's not just, let's say, technical skills, it's also the citizenship skill.
And what about what was mentioned, because in our group it was indeed experienced that there's also a big gap when it comes to, or like an education bridge that needs to be, an education gap that needs to be filled, is the AI education. You mentioned digital education, digital literacy.
Yeah.
To what extent is the European Union already like educating teachers, for instance, or is there a plan in order to educate people on AI?
We absolutely are investing in digital. I will not differentiate on AI and digital, but we are investing. We have the ESF, European Social Fund Plus, which is inside the cohesion policy, the Recovery and Resilience Program. They are there we have funds that are implemented through ministries of education and schools, and digital education is being delivered. I have the example of my own country, but how good is the curriculum? What is the quality of the training? That is the topic that we need also to address. In the moment, we looked at the Union of Skills. We have 150 billion euros invested through the different EU funding strands in education and training. Not just courses, but also educational infrastructure. Anyhow, it's a huge amount. Out of that, very important amounts for digital education, a lot from the Recovery and Resilience Facility. But we do not have a coordination at EU level in terms of, we don't want we are not able to boss around member states, but at least to have a common approach in what it would mean to skill and to equip with AI and digital competencies the teachers, the parents, those that are not parents, the adults. In the Union of Skills, you will see, we propose measures to improve the basic skills of children, but also the basic skills of adults. There are adults already in the workplace, be them teachers, workers, whatever job they have, cleaners, politicians, of course, who need to be equipped and skilled much better in terms of their AI literacy and understanding.
So that is already being done.
We are doing stuff. It's clear that we are, and then I invite you to. Of course, I can give easily examples from Romania. It's hundreds of billions of euros investing in training for digital, and I've been directly, let's say, involved until a certain point. But but the idea is what is the quality of the training, and how do we make sure that it's similar quality across the European Union. I do commend and applaud what you mentioned, the need to have practical, and this partnership I think is important between the educational providers and the schools, universities, the vocational and educational schools, and the private sector. And please remember that we are trying this skills-first approach. It's the industry that says we understand solid education is important, but we are looking also for skilled people who know how to do this or that, how to operate this or that. So this is a skills-first, let's say, approach that we try to put forward, is that not just the diploma, not just the qualification that is necessary for the company, for the industry, it's also the skills that you have, and that can be really demonstrated. So I think for that we need to encourage a partnership with the private sector, and we have. But again, I'm feeling that I'm talking very theoretically, the Pact for Skills. There are many tools. We are doing a lot. We are. I mean, it's not the point here to enumerate what the European Union is doing. But the results show us that we need to do more and better in terms of investing in digital skills. So what more, how better? How can we approach these challenges better?
Maybe there was one other comment also coming in from the online audience, which also mentioned, this was also something that came in our conversation, saying like, we are missing the practical skills. This is someone saying like, I have a solid foundation in technical areas, but what we're missing are soft skills or practical experience. And this is also something, I think also that what was being discussed in our group. It's just something to mention.
I will also let you know of one fact. We started work on the Union of Skills with some crude realities. Maybe we lack 2 million people from the healthcare sector, millions from the construction. All sectors complain about the need they have for engineers. Would you choose these careers? Should we look outside the European Union? Do your colleagues feel tempted? Is engineering, is construction engineer or site manager, let's say a brand in the world of jobs, ideal jobs? What do we do about that? This is a huge challenge, and I will not lie to you because there is a lot of concern. Of course, we talk here about values and about soft skills, and they make us who we are. But meanwhile, companies die and jobs are lost and regions become poorer because we are unable to provide the talent that they need. And the talent that they need is very technical. And the sensitivity around bringing technical talent from outside the European Union is huge. You know it. Don't bring migrants, don't. But then, will we do it? Will we take it upon ourselves to say we champion engineering jobs, we champion... This is a complicated topic that we have to reflect upon, and
yeah, and it doesn't end here.
Not easy to give an answer.
And we have more issues and problems, and hopefully some hopeful suggestions also, because we have one more group. Assia, do you want to present about how telework, the always-on culture, and new technologies such as AI will also influence quality of work?
Yeah, as I understand, we ran out of time, so I will try to keep it short. So let's start with a very, very small example just to set the question. So let's say we are in a hospital, we buy an AI tool that prioritizes who needs to do a surgery based on several criteria. So a company made this algorithm, the hospital bought it, the doctor used it, but at the end, let's say that a patient, due to the delay because of the AI tool, let's say died, which is the worst scenario. Who has the responsibility? It's who of us, because here we involve the company that developed the tool, the hospital that buys the tool, the doctor that used the tool, and maybe also the patient that signed that, yes, I agree to be part of that. So for us, the biggest questions out of everything we discuss is this, the responsibility. So indeed, there are a few things that can be done. So we already, the explainability of AI is already promoted, so at least us as users to be able to know, was that a decision that was taken by an AI tool, or was this something that's generated by an AI tool, or by a human? Because it's good for us to know, it's important for us to know who took that decision at the end. And yes, health issue is critical, but in many, many cases, in a book development, in an image generation, we need to know who generated this content. Then in terms of us, we already spoke a bit before in our discussion about the information literacy. So we also have a responsibility. We need to filter the AI. That means the doctor needs to filter the result, the patient, the hospital. But it goes also beyond that. Also, the companies that develop these algorithms need to be regulated a bit. So how inclusive are these algorithms? Which people are getting involved when develop these algorithms? That means either do we have diversity in the team that developing the algorithms? Do many stakeholders got involved in the process of developing the algorithms so that we can use the outcome safely? Do we educate enough both the employers and the employees on how to really properly use it? How can we give feedback back to the ones who develop the algorithm so that we can improve it? So we need this iteration of feedback in order to be better users of that tools. We need to have some ethical codes, and that can be a bit more specific for each profession. I mean, when it comes to justice or to medical stuff, of course, the principles need to be a bit more strict, but also when it comes to education, as it will affect all of us. And when we speak about education, we agree with the other team. We believe that we need to have this AI education when the children are still young, and that involves both educate the trainers, but also educate the children and the parents on that. So these were like the most important things. And of course, promoting debiasing strategies, mitigating strategies of bias in AI tools. AI Act already includes some of these things, promoting transparent AI so that we can understand how a decision was made. But still, it's like a long way on that. And maybe if I can go back just to raise one more thing very fast. So you spoke before about the right to disconnect, which for all of us who are working remotely, it's super important. But what also is a bit worried is about the social dialogue. So it's super important for the workers to create teams, to ask for our working rights, to create unions. Yes, but if we work only in a digital world, how we can be together and fight for our rights if we cannot meet our colleagues or if we cannot meet our unions? So we need to find a way to increase the powers of the employees to have more social dialogues. And with that, I don't mean only social interaction, which is of course important, but how can we create in this new digital area unions so that we can agree that our way of working and conditions of working is the best that theoretically they can be. So hopefully my team, I don't forget anything, but these I think are the most important. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Madam Executive Vice President, is there already any talks going about if everybody is working more digitally, how can people organize themselves? Labor unions have been shrinking already for decades. Is there new ideas on how workers should unite again?
The idea of labor unions, and I talk to them, the trade unions, is to support their capacity to become stronger and to be able to also take on this new challenge of unionizing and of representing the voices of workers online and offline. Of course, we discussed with them a lot. They are the biggest promoters of us regulating right to disconnect and AI as a boss. Again, it's not AI as a tool, it's about the AI as a boss. I was talking to my colleagues, it's a good, let's say, good short sentence. So the trade unions are the existing ones. And we are working with the European trade unions, of course. It's not that they are equally strong throughout our member states. That is unfortunately the situation. They are interested to and willing and fighting for, let's say, a way through which in the online platforms, in the world of telework, the voices of workers are heard. If you have ideas about how we can organize ourselves better, but I think the legislation on social dialogue is absolutely crucial. It's not about new ways of organizing trade unions, it's about helping trade unions and workers transition to this new world and to understand and define better the new relations, the new transparency issues, the biases, the way the work is assessed, what I mentioned in the beginning. So this is a bit the challenge. AI as a boss versus AI as a tool. That is the huge challenge, I think, that I was addressing in the beginning. But thank you very much for the points that you have made. On skills, I couldn't be, maybe I feel the need to reassess this. This is a priority in the Union of Skills, and it is supported already by the European Union. Our thinking is how we do it, how can we build better models? We cannot go in the curriculum, in the content of member states, but we can support public-private partnerships. And this is essential, I think, not just for AI, for every type of skilling and education. One signal that we sent is that in the Union of Skills, we proposed that the whole governance, so the structure that governs the Union of Skills will be public-private. It shall be a high skills board that will include industry, social partners, and of course, Commission and the public stakeholders in the educational sector, so that we are always connected and understanding the positions of the industry, the positions of the social partners, how they see the real-time evolutions and what we need to do in our policy making. The thing is that at EU level, many things you've mentioned we cannot do. It's not EU competence. It's not EU competence to tell a school or how to teach our digital or literacy or how to teach the citizenship. But we can establish these, let's say, goals and targets, and we did establish them. Some targets that I would mention are related to STEM, again, because that's where it hurts us. Europe is bleeding because it doesn't have enough STEM jobs. So establish a target, 32% of university graduates should be STEM graduates by 2030. 1 million women we want to bring in STEM careers by 2030. Is it easy? Not, but it's this kind of tasks that we have established for ourselves and commitment together with member states. And what we do is we offer EU funding. I've mentioned the budget that we have ongoing. It's ongoing until 2029, actually. Better use of it through public-private partnerships. I think this is very important. And also cooperation between universities and schools. We have the European University Alliances, which are supported by Erasmus, and together they share, they have mobilities, faculty mobilities, student mobilities, they learn from each other to better teach certain subjects. They develop micro-credentials that in the end certify certain skills, and they get the best of many worlds across the European Union. So there are things that we are doing, things that we need to do better. The European dimension here is about how we can increase the quality of education and skills through exchanges, through mobilities, through EU-recognized diplomas, degrees, and so on and so forth.
Thank you so much so far, and I think there's still so much to discuss, but I think we're all really happy to already have had 2 hours of your time, and hopefully vice versa. And I was just really wondering, maybe one of the two of you can answer this. There's also many colleagues of yours, I think, riding along, taking pictures. What are also next steps for you in terms of maybe taking some suggestions? And if people here want to contact you or have a brilliant idea in the following days and weeks, how can they contact you?
In my case, of course, I'm on all social media, but we have here, my team is here, Vanessa, she's in charge with the Union of Skills, but also Sonia, so my colleagues are there as well, and Eva, I don't know where she is. All ladies, as you see. So you can reach out to us at the end and talk to us about what you would see. We are going to implement the Union of Skills. So what we said we do there, first we pilot some measures. We will pilot, for example, a support scheme for schools where underachievement is chronicle, where pupils fail in maths, in reading, in digital. So we are going to pilot a support scheme for, maybe you have ideas, how can we support these schools? We will pilot it and then try to scale it and to recommend it to member states. Or we will pilot a workers' skills guarantee, which is maybe very relevant. So we want to support workers in industries, not workers, every kind of professional industries, so that they are able to transition to new jobs and to be more strong in the labor markets. This is mostly about digital training, AI training. Maybe you have ideas how we should approach this skills guarantee. So it's financial support to help the worker be trained, or it's even support for the company that employs that worker or that will employ that worker. So these are ideas that we test. We will pilot also a research fellowship scholarship for top-notch researchers and brilliant people that would want to come from outside the European Union to the European Union to innovate here, and you can have ideas about that. Sure, we will work on the quality jobs roadmap. It's a roadmap, it's not a directive, but it's a design, let's say a map towards how we would want to make sure that in Europe jobs stay at a certain level, that with the world of AI, with the AI in the world of work, we are still able to protect the rights of workers, but to make sure that companies are also competitive. So this is a bit of the next steps. is much more than that also, but if you have concrete ideas that you think could be implemented at European level, not national, not regional, not local, I would be more than happy to engage with you, and my team is there as well.
We're going to really make sure, grab their business cards, I would say, grab their emails, grab their socials.
I would appreciate it.
The conversation doesn't end here. Thank you so much all for your energy, for your input, for your creativity, for your minds. And thank you also so much, Director General Mario Nava. And thank you so much, of course, Executive Vice President. Any last words also from you, Mr. Nava?
No, thank you very much. And I think, as the Executive Vice President said, we truly work as a team. So do contact us. Every time I meet you, I meet the youngs, I learn a lot. The only thing I do outside the job, now that I had to quit playing football, is teaching at university, because I learn a lot from the students. It's really incredible. And so thank you very much. Contact us, contact our office. Our email address are basically public, mario.nava@europa.eu. I'll direct you where is right. So don't hesitate, really, don't be timid. We are there for you.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words. Also, thank you to the live stream audience for watching and for joining this discussion. For now, we would like to close off the live stream, close off this youth dialogue, and we will do this together with you in a group picture. So please, a very warm welcome to both of our guests.